Hello and welcome back to the Knowledge and Power Podcast. We're Ray, Nate, and Jake, and tonight we're talking about relationship best friends 2.0. Coming up next.
Sacrifice and really acknowledging and being mindful of the sacrifice he made.
Sorry. What can you say?
What's going on, fellas?
Hey.
What's going on?
We're back again.
We're
Back.
back. Another
Back,
Sunday.
back.
Round 2 of new season.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
Can you guys hear me? Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay. I was making sure. So yeah. So tonight we're going to dive into like a recap, somewhat of how we finished off the show last week.
Okay.
Because there were some messages slung our way that felt like we need to possibly do a deeper dive.
Okay. All right. We can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. But all I ask is that as we go forward with this deeper dive, is that we really need to hear back from we really need to hear from folks, in the comment section.
Most definitely.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Yeah, because you got your opinion about some things. Everyone has their viewpoint. There's really no right, no wrong answer. We're gonna look at it that way. I understand some people may think of it this way biblically. Some people may read it differently biblically. But I just want to kind of leave this platform for people to kind of be able to present their argument. An argument is not yelling, shouting, fussing, cussing.
Right.
Right.
It's just a difference of opinion. Yep.
And that helps drive the conversation. So please, yes, come on in, let us know you're here, say hi, and participate in the discussion.
And what else?
Oh, I might as well do it since we're here. Hey, listen, we need you to like the show, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the podcast, both here on YouTube and on anchor.fm. Go ahead and look us
All
up,
right.
Knowledge and Power Podcast, and please share. Let people know we're here. Share with your friends and family, your social media following. And again, we'd love to hear from you. Comment during the show, after the show. Replay gang is in full effect.
All right.
Excellent.
Now you know.
Nate, you were supposed to do some homework last week for this week. Did you have a
Was it?
chance to get at it? Yeah.
Ooh, I failed.
Failed, dude.
What was my homework?
Your homework is supposed to kind of give us a shout out as far as the other platforms.
Stats.
The stats.
Ain't no love.
Oh, well.
Come on, man.
I'm gonna look them up while we talking. Go.
No, don't do it. But take your time. I don't want it to be rushed.
Right.
No, bro, don't do it that way. So I want you.
I'm looking at what we're talking.
Right. We don't want to lose you.
The way you packaged it last time or the times before, I mean, it wasn't rushed. You can tell it was detailed, and so don't rush, man. Just enjoy the show.
I'm looking them up.
You're looking at it.
How was your week, Jake?
My week was awesome. I got some great news.
Oh, what's up? Please
Pretty
share.
exciting news. My son, Jeremy Jr., got engaged. He proposed.
Lil Jake?
He proposed, yeah.
Are you serious?
Wow.
I'm serious.
Wow.
Yeah. Nice big rock on our finger. Yeah.
Now what's his fiance's name? I forgot.
Jasmine.
Okay. That's right. And so she said
Yeah.
yes.
She said yes.
Well, congratulations.
Good news.
I have to
Good,
reach
man.
out
So
to him. Make sure I
you so you approve of even though it doesn't make a difference in today's day and time, but do you approve of her?
I do approve. Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Happy to say they are doing their best to do it right. So
That's
thank
good.
God.
Yep. I have some news too.
Yeah.
My job is bothering me right now while I'm on my podcast. So I'm just totally ignoring them. That's a shame, man.
They you're
That's a shame.
you're so important.
That's ridiculous.
You said they bothering you, Ray?
Yeah,
They
they
getting on
sent me
your
text
nerves?
messages now. It's 7:30 at night, man. This don't make no sense. So
It doesn't.
yeah,
They
but
need
any
you.
old that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. But Nate, if you
my
could take a
week
break
was
from your stat
my
fighting.
I'm gonna have to do it the right way, man. So because what I'm looking at right now ain't helping me. So hold me accountable, please, so I don't forget.
All right.
This week, this past week has been pretty copacetic. Trying to think if anything significant took place. My memory, oh Lord, have blessed my memory. Lord.
No, I know.
And if something did happen and people are watching that it happened with, I'm so sorry.
Right.
It was just,
Remind.
it was a regular week. We just had a chance to, enjoy Charlotte, but we had some pretty good weather this week. A couple of rainy days, but most of the week has been sunshine and blue skies. Loving it.
In Charlotte.
In Charlotte, North Carolina. We got out, was it Saturday? Man, just sweaters and just
Okay.
try
Today
to do
was
food truck.
bright and sunny around here too.
Oh man, it was cold though, right?
No, it wasn't cold at night. I didn't even have a coat on when I went on my mom's.
You lies. Don't lie to these
do
people.
not lie. Do not lie, man.
You just
had on,
you just went out in the cold. That's what you did.
just a light sweater. That's it.
That's good. I'm glad. But check it out though. We did try a new food truck. Shout out to Mariah's Taco Bar or Taco Spot. It's a
Come on,
food truck,
sponsor.
and they serve their specialties are tacos, but they also do chicken wings and some other stuff like that. But man, those tacos were phenomenal.
Gotcha.
Phenomenal. Now
Okay.
for 2 days straight, Friday and Saturday, sold out of chicken wings. So I had to come back and tell you how I like chicken wings next time we try them. We get some chicken wings, but they must be good because they sold out 2 days in a row. 2 days in a row they sold out. I couldn't believe it.
They gotta be good.
The only bad thing was the wait was long. They made everything from scratch and they had a whole lot of orders. A lot of people ahead of us waiting. So we had to wait for about 30, 35 minutes to get our stuff. But it was worth it because it was so good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a wing connoisseur, so.
Oh yeah, I know you know about the wings, bro.
Man.
Especially, what's the name of that place in Muskegon that got the good wings?
Slithers. What is it?
No,
the place you normally take us.
It's sad news,
fried
man.
green beans. The fried
Don't say
green
they.
beans
Don't say they shut down, Jake.
Don't say it.
They had a fire.
Oh.
So they have yet to reopen. They didn't burn to the ground, thankfully. They are planning to reopen though.
That is.
What was the name of it though?
Chicken Coop.
Chicken Coop. That's right. The Chicken Coop.
Change the name next time they reopen, man. Chicken Coop sound like it would be something that would catch on fire and burn down. Man, what's up with that? I mean, from the Chicken
place,
Coop,
you know that place is good though, man. That place.
Oh man,
it was good.
That's the spot.
Yeah.
For chicken.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: we don't have a sponsor, but if we did have a sponsor, it would not be Walmart.
Again?
Walmart. Yes.
The anti-sponsor.
Why do I keep going there, fellas? Why do I keep going there? Because I love Walmart.
Because they got those great prices.
Yeah.
So I went to Walmart.
What happened, man?
Early today.
Okay.
Way before folks got out of church and everything. And they have out of 3 different kind of chips that I eat, they didn't have any of the 3. How you not gonna have some chips when I need to sit down and watch the game, even though it really wasn't the game? My boys lost 49ers. Okay. Better luck next year, guys. Shout out to all the Philly fans. Yeah, I ain't have any chips to enjoy the game with, man. Just every brand but the one, every flavor but the flavor I wanted.
Oh man.
Wow.
How did you substitute?
I didn't get anything, man.
Yeah, that's why they lost, man. Because
I know I came home trying to sit in front of a TV and watch a game with no vittles, no snacks, man.
No Lucky Chips.
The Lucky Chips, man, make all the difference.
And the game was disastrous from the time.
Now, see, I didn't get a chance to watch it. Was they played Philly?
Yeah, they played Philly, man. They played Philly.
Is that the team that McCaffrey went to?
No, McCaffrey went. No, he went to the Niners. This is their first loss since
they went to the Niners.
Joined the team.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Man.
I thought I heard on the radio that he made it to the big game. Okay, I guess I was wrong.
Yeah.
Oh well. Bad luck next year, right?
Right.
Next year again.
Bring back Joe Montana and Jerry Rice.
You know what? I've been thinking about this. Like that's what we're gonna have to do to freeze them in time since Tom Brady planned to 96. We had to bring back those guys at 103.
I know.
So, man.
My goodness.
Jerry Rice staying strong too. You see that necklace he had on?
Yeah, we don't need Jerry's my boy, but we don't need the receiver. We need some quarterbacks that we can count on. That's either Montana or Young. That's either
Steve Young. Yes, Young. Yeah, Young was good. Montana was good. I think Young was a little better, personally speaking.
Montana won 4 Super Bowls, man. Young only.
I'm just talking about mobility wise. He's more mobile in
4.
Yeah, that's true though. Can't take away the 4 Super Bowls
because
take
Montana's my favorite of all time. So
it's hard to argue that point.
Yeah, but yeah. So we are just kind of recapping, piggybacking off of last week's closing conversation that we had about can spouses be best friends? I think that's what it was. Or can your best friend be the person that you're with of opposite sex? I forgot how we worded it, but but it was we debuted that like the last few minutes, and it took off. It was like fire, and we didn't have enough time to really close out on that. So we're gonna try to just kind of hit it a little bit tonight. I actually found a couple of people who gave opinion about that.
Okay.
From the psychologist side of view.
Okay.
But at the same token, not saying that they're correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's everybody's opinion, so that's why we want people to chime in and state your point.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need people to give their opinion tonight, because this is a very interesting topic, and I say interesting because of the feelings that are on both sides of it. There are feelings on both sides. People can really sway one way or the other on it.
Mm-hmm. So we started it by me sharing that I'd heard a podcast from this guy. I'm not sure if he is has a church or what have you, but he was presenting to a male group at a church. And he was really good. He was saying some good stuff. And so much so that I listened to one podcast was 45 minutes and the other one kicked in, which was a year ago. And then I listened to that one, and that's the one that the needle on the record scratched when he mentioned his opinion about that. And that's his name up there. I cannot pronounce his last name.
Jonathan Pokluda.
Yep.
That's what it looks like.
All right.
So he said that he asked the question, should you make your spouse or your significant other your best friend? And he said no, it wasn't designed that way because of all the emotional roller coasters, and you can't be brutally honest about some things. And I shared that information, and man, did it get interesting after that.
Yeah, sure did. Sure did.
It did.
I'd like to just interject my previous thought before we go any further. I still believe, ideally, if you have two people that are walking in a certain level of maturity, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and are relationally sound, they can be each other's best friend. Ideally, you would want your spouse to be that person, because your spouse should be the person that's closest to you, that will hold you down, before anybody else does. They'll be your ride or die, far and above anyone else, and can hold your deepest secrets and feelings and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's not true in everybody's case, and in a lot of cases, because of the relational heartstrings that are attached, and the perceptions and the expectations that you have for a spouse, sometimes you're not able to communicate on a level that you would with someone who's not your spouse, who might just be like your boy or your girl, and share things with that person that you couldn't share with your spouse, because if the spouse heard that information, it might be too much for them to handle.
Okay. Yeah, they have to be.
But again, I'm an idealist, so ideally, you want to be able to have that kind of relationship with your spouse.
They'd have to be pretty level-headed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not flighty.
Woo, Jake! Did you say flighty?
We're trying to get him in trouble, man, with our viewers.
I'm just asking if that's what he said. I want my hearing is off a little bit today. You know, I just want to make sure I heard what he said.
Well, let me share this. I'm not gonna give his name because he's still very much alive. I'm pretty sure. And he came to Central one time to speak. Jake, you weren't there, but Nate, I'm pretty sure you were in the house.
Okay.
He's one of our speakers, and he was a much older gentleman then. So, man, he's like Morgan Freeman old then. So I can imagine what he is now.
That's Jake.
But he's a pastor. And he said he gave us kind of an example. And I thought about this after I got off the air last night, and I was going to share because apparently I think he would say that you can, because his example that you can have your spouse as your best friend, because he said his wife is his friend, his spiritual partner, and his girlfriend. Friend, spiritual partner, and girlfriend. Those are the three levels that he sees her as. He said, so he was out and about. I'm not going to say where he was because this may start making people try to wonder who is this person, but he was out and about in a regular setting. And this particular day that he was in his regular setting, he began to look at skirts. That's how he put it.
Okay.
He said, and his head started turning. So what he did was, he went, this is back in the day where you had your pay phones. There were no cell phones at the time. Okay. But
he is old.
So he went and he went to where he was, and he picked up the phone and he called his significant other, and he said, I need to talk to my spiritual partner now, not my wife or my girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He said, and then he told her what he was doing. He was looking at all these young girls walking with the skirts on and everything, and his head was just looking. He said, I need you to pray for me. And he went on to caution us as young cats in college at that time. He was like, I'm not saying all y'all can do that. You got to know where your relationship is with the person that you with. He said, because a lot of people, women could not have taken that kind of honesty of where I was. He said, but we had been married for so long that I felt like we were on all those three planes. So I could split it up and talk to her on those different levels.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Now see
that's what I mean.
That captures what I was saying. You know, they were at a mature enough level that he could say that, and then he could have his wife not only pray for him, hold him accountable as well, for his skirt washing. You know,
right.
He had a human moment.
Yeah, he had a human moment, which we all do.
Yeah.
And I'm just, like I said, I'm an idealist. I just believe that you should be able to share that with your spouse, because your spouse should be the person who takes that information, and because he or she has your best interest in heart,
right,
will, number one, hold you accountable, and will pray with you to help you get through whatever period of life that is that you're in and what you're dealing with, so that you can come out on the other side and not have to deal with that any longer. You should be able to trust that person with that kind of information, and then not be held against you or thrown in your face. It should be something that both of you should be able to do, and and still be able to have a good, thriving, healthy relationship.
Okay. I'm gonna throw this out there to the people that are chiming in, that are coming in now.
We got comments
I
coming
mean,
in.
no comments about that right there. But I just kind of wanted to
Okay.
say, with the story I just described about the pastor that came to speak to us way back in the day, and he shared with his wife what he
I remember
was,
that story.
He was looking
I
at
do remember
skirts.
that.
You do.
Yeah, I remember that.
And would you want to hear your significant other or your spouse tell you something that brutally honest that he was scoping and looking at? Just put it in the comments there. So Nate, I'm gonna go back to you. Something you said last week. You said, and this might tag along with what I just shared, that story right there about old boy. You said that there are some things that you probably wouldn't want to hear from Michelle, that you would probably rather she tell her female friend, because it just may be too much.
And I'm just being honest. If there was a story to tell that maybe I just, I might not be able to handle, but that's just the reality of the situation. But I also want to go back to the brutally honest thing you said. I think I've come to a place in my life now that I'd rather hear the information and we work through it together. Even if it's something that hits me in the chest like a 70-pound
slug,
brick.
like a slug to your chest. That's what we say.
Like a slug to my chest. Yeah, like a slug to my chest. You know what I'm saying? Like a slug to my chest. If it hits me like that, I still want to be able to hear it, because I value open and honest conversation and exposure. That's what I value. And if it hits me to that heart to that degree, like I said last week, Jake, you remember I said I'll be all right. It might take a minute for me to take it in. It might take a minute for me to absorb it. I might have to go process. It might bring tears to my eyes. But rather than it be, secrets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the brutal honesty, because I think what brutal honesty does in a relationship is it amplifies the level of your effective communication. That you should be able to, now everything's ideal here. You should be able to talk to your spouse about anything, and be able to lay things on the table and you deal with it. You don't want to hear about something from someone else, or you know what I'm saying? Because then there's a whole other set of dynamics that come with finding out things secondhand.
Okay.
So yeah,
So question is,
I don't know.
Listen,
I think I'm an idealist. I believe Michelle's my best friend, but
that's great. That's great. But here, go ahead.
Do we talk about everything and expose everything? It's a work in progress.
Okay.
That's good, Nate. Do you have that definition on hand that you read last week about what is a best friend?
If you give me a second, I'll pull it up.
Okay. That being said, Jake.
Yeah.
That story that I shared, like I said, I don't think you were there that particular weekend hanging out with us when we heard that story from it was like a church service.
Oh, okay.
But what do you think? How long do you think, is that automatic when you get married or when you start dating a person that you start to grant them that title, or do you think it's something that comes with time?
No, that definitely comes with time, unless you have developed that before you get married. And, if you've been together or courted long enough to have that kind of relationship developed, but it doesn't come automatically with marriage. Ideally, yeah, you want that. My wife and I, we're getting to that point. We're not even there yet. We both had best friends when we got married. Okay. And we kind of had the ideal of, okay, now we're best friends, but it just didn't work like that, because your spouse is that and friends are friends. So if you're gonna change those dynamics, it takes time.
What do you mean by your spouse is that and friends are friends? Can you go a little bit deeper dive in that?
Man, okay, like friends, every relationship is different, but when you got friends prior to marriage, like even, okay, with my situation, when I got married, a lot of friendships, not because of purpose by me, took a back seat. They just kind of gave me that honor of, oh, he's married now, so
Yeah,
we went. You know what I'm saying?
I
Right.
100% agree with that. 1,000%.
Right. So with your spouse, they're supposed to come first and be, you know, I mean, you're one with that person. So,
Right.
like we said last week. So, I mean, you can't really separate. Bible says no more twain. So
Ooh,
anybody
preach it.
outside of that is, you know, they're the friend, the friend zone.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, that's just the difference.
Okay.
Okay.
But I had a question about, should your best friend who is not your spouse be a confident about your spouse? Should you confide in your best friend about your spouse if it's
Ooh.
not your spouse?
Are we talking opposite sex or are we talking same sex best friend?
Whoever
Well,
the
you know
best
what? No,
friend is.
it don't matter. It don't matter
Right.
because opposite or it don't matter because that if it's the same sex, your boy could try to use that to move in.
Right.
Yeah. So go ahead, Nate. Answer that question. I ain't answering it.
You can answer that.
You said I ain't answering that question.
That's a hard one.
Well, once
Wow.
again, we're dealing with ideally, right? So ideally, you want to handle any issues that you have with your spouse,
Mm-hmm.
because you never really know, even if it's your best friend, you know what motivations are behind what information you might what they do with the information you tell them.
Okay.
If it's same sex, you know, you never know. Like Ray kind of just alluded to, somebody might try to move in based on the information that you give to your best friend. You never really know what their motivations are. Ideally, you know, if you tell your best friend something, your best friend's going to, number one, hold the information in confidence. They're going to tell you the truth about the situation. They're not going to let you go sideways or be negative or talk defeatist talk. If they find something that you're saying is off base, they're going to hold you accountable for that. A true best friend would do that.
Right.
A lot of times we have the people that we talk to, our friends, are just sounding boards and let us vent, but they really don't interject, you know, any real any influence in the conversation towards getting things back on track. A lot of times we just let them know what's going on and yeah, man, or yeah, girl, but really no checking or trying to put, like I said, bring people back on track. But I think it's dangerous to tell anybody outside of your marriage things that are going on inside your marriage unless that person's going to be edifying you and trying to you know, give you the best advice for your situation. Now, like if I was hitting Michelle and she called her friend and said, you know, this man, he been hitting me, and you know, of course, I think the advice should be, you know, prioritize your safety. You know, see about getting him some help. You know, that kind of stuff. Rather than just yeah. And you need. There's some things you should be able to talk about your marriage with a friend.
Okay.
A lot of times, what we do is we end up complaining about our marriage to a friend and bad mouthing our spouse to our friend, and our friends usually just ride with us and, you know, don't really try to bring you back to center.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Which I've never been guilty of. I'd like to say that to the group.
You better put that disclaimer out there.
I've never been guilty of just being a sounding board. I will always try to put you back on track.
That's good.
That's how I do. I know you guys can testify to that fact.
Yeah.
Can we? Can we?
Yes, you can.
We can.
Now I found the definition that you asked about. Do you still want to hear it?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I do. And I'm gonna start throwing the comments up there after this definition.
So basically, number one, the best friend we're talking about, of all of the friends that you have, this particular person is the best of them all. You don't have more than one best. You know, this is the best.
Mhm.
That's the definition we need to hold to as we talk about this. Okay, a best friend is someone who is there for you through the thick and thin. It's someone who listens and understands you, someone you can call anytime about anything you feel the need to tell or vent about.
Yeah.
It's someone who will stand up for you in the times when you need it the most, keep your secrets close, and someone who you can trust with your life. They will support you in any decision you make, even if it's hard for them. It's someone who is there for you as much as they can be. It is and does and says whatever they can to up your mood in down times. You can be your complete and total self around this person without feeling uncomfortable. You can say or do anything, and your friendship or your relationship, rather, never changes. Someone who literally feels sent from heaven to make your life that much easier.
Wow.
Someone who will do almost anything for you as you would do for them, and someone who loves you no matter what kind of stupid things you do. This person will always want the best for you and will always want for them, as you will always want for them. As much as people change, your love with a real best friend will never fade through all the phases of life and problems that come along with it. That's
Okay,
the
I
full
got it
definition.
then. With that definition being so loaded like that, my best
Right.
friend is Jesus Christ.
Ah.
I mean, come on now. I'm being silly,
Mm.
but listen to that. That's pretty weighty, Nate. And all those things that was captured in that definition there. Come on, now
Mm.
we got to be honest. We all have human sides, a
Right.
human moment, and we fall short to
Mhm.
a few of those things that was mentioned in that definition. Now, if we want to
Mhm.
say that a best friend captures all of that and keeps all of that, that's one
Mhm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mhm.
if we want to give some room to say that, okay, they may not live up to everything, but they live up to some, as long as they live up to a few of these things that was mentioned.
Right.
Because the only one that
Right.
can live up to all of those things is Jesus. And that's just the truth.
Right.
You
Right.
think?
Right.
Yeah, Jake.
Is there
Yes.
no human that can do all?
No. No, I don't think so. I think that
I mean, it is a hefty definition.
because and I'm just gonna go with me. My feelings are fragile at times. And you're
Mhm.
gonna
Okay.
say something that I'm just not vibing with, and I
Yeah.
gotta adjust myself. Now, I always want the best for a person. I mean, so you can look at those good tangibles that you read up in there, Nate. But always being able to be there, always being able to understand. I may have a moment where at this moment here, I'm not vibing with what you're trying to do. I don't
Mhm.
think you should. I mean, yeah, whew, that's a lot, man.
That
That's a
is a
lot. I
lot.
mean, like
That's a lot of
it's very
pressure.
thorough. That's
Yes,
very
sir.
thorough. But you know that some people feel like a best friend should embody all that, especially the part where I can tell you anything and our relationship never changes,
Yeah.
even if
That's what I was
Okay,
it's
going to
hard,
say.
even if it's hard for you as my best friend to
and
hear.
Right.
we can take that one right there. And again, I'm not trying to be super spiritual, but the only person I believe that has never changed on me ever in life, and I'm talking uh is Jesus, who
Mhm.
knows the nooks and cranny of my ugliness,
Yeah.
my intentions, and my good sides, and has looked at me the same.
Right.
Being
All
human,
right.
just being real. Come on now. I'm sure y'all have questioned some of the things I brought to y'all. You'd be like, dang, really? And you get to think about like that's because y'all have said sometimes like, oh, that's just Ray having one of his moments, I mean, because I come out of left field sometimes about some of the stuff
Right.
that I share, and you have your moment for a second to wonder, okay, what box is he coming out of? I gotta save, I gotta bring him back, and it's not about I need bringing back. I'm opening up about where I am at that time, and I mean, I'm jumping off the boat from anything. And that's why I say, to look at it, Jesus is the only one to say, no, you have your moment. I'm not going to look at you any different. The next minute, I'm not going to look at you any different because I know who you are. Man, that's weighty, man. Woof.
Yeah, it's weighty. It's weighty. But I like that definition because it does give us a script to kind of follow.
Yeah.
And what it also does, and we ain't trying to be super spiritual here again, but it embodies the spirit of love, which we learn about in 1 Corinthians chapter 13.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
It captures all of that.
All of that. Yeah.
It
And how
does.
and how you should look at somebody as a friend, and how you love them. You should be able to hear and see and all that kind of stuff, and it doesn't change how you love a person or look at a person. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. So
Ideally speaking, but we know humans, people, like we said last week, people go on people, and yeah, like you said, Ray, Jesus is really the person that kind of embodies that the most, because people are flawed and we change, and we're not dependable to be the same all the time.
So you're right. Exactly.
That's why he's God and we're not.
Right. So I guess what we need to that they should have put in there was allowing us that space to forgive the best friend who may look at us or have a human moment, because there will be, because I know no one can keep that. So I have to be okay with, you had a moment, you let me down. I thought you would have been there, but you wasn't. But I forgive you,
right?
Because I know you're human.
Right. And this doesn't change our relationship.
Yeah, or it may, that meltdown or that breakdown, that human side or a human moment that we just had may change it for a moment, and it may even cause me or somebody to get a little reserved about, okay, well, I know I can only share so much with Jake because he can't handle that. And I may be saying that then, but another year or some months from now, I may give it another try to see if you can handle it differently from what you handled it before. Because again, we have this idea. And I'm not trying to say, I'm not giving our opinion saying that we shouldn't. I'm just throwing all the different avenues out there because, man, we are, and I'm not saying everything is negative and nasty and bad, but man, there's nothing good in the flesh. The word says that.
Right.
So we have some moments that are ugly and dark sometimes, and we need to talk them through.
That's true.
And sometimes, man, we just don't get the best reaction.
Well, you know how kids are. They're fighting one minute, and next minute they're best friends again.
Right.
Can adults do that?
Yeah, adults do that. Adults can do that. Especially married adults, because that's what happens in marriage.
You fall out.
Disagreements, you fall out, but you come back together and you all
come right back.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd asked the question earlier, Jake, right before Nate read the definition. Was that something that happens automatic? Do you learn that automatically, or does it something that you build to? And at that time, Ms. Bell was responding, so I'm just going to read her comment now. She said we should be taught that at the start, the beginning of our marital relationship, that you're striving, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm saying this wrong, but that we should be striving at the start to kind of shape that relationship of going into being best friends. That's what I believe she's saying.
Okay.
And and I kind of agree with that, because last week we were talking about difficult conversations versus surface conversations. And that's one of those things that you should be talking about up front. Are you somebody that I could, give my deepest, darkest secrets to, and it won't affect how we look at each other? Or should I talk to somebody else with some of that stuff? Because if you can't handle it, I don't want to put anything on your plate that's going to have you looking at me sideways, because I'm a human. You got to have that conversation. Ideally, she would say, or he would say, yes, I am that person. But we all have to grow into being somebody like that, because
we have
to mature,
right? Because we so quickly go into our own feelings of feeling like, and we miss past. I know it's not a word, but we blow past what's being said to us, and we automatically get on the defense of our insecurities and start wondering, I don't have this, or I caused them to be this way. Well, it's not got nothing to do with you. Just listen to what the person's trying to get out.
That's my point. We should be ideally the kind of people that put the feelings to the side, like the pastor said. I'm calling for my spiritual partner right now. So I don't need you to go into the feeling side of things. I need you to hear what I'm saying with your spiritual ears and help me get through this.
That's good.
Like, if if your wife was to call you Jake and say, you know what, Jake, I'm down here at Meyer, and this brother in his gray sweatpants got my loins warm.
What's with the gray sweatpants, man? I'll leave it at that. Because
the ladies like the ladies like the gray sweatpants. I don't know why.
All right.
But would you be like, let me pray for you? Would your feelings get involved? Just be honest.
Oh yeah, they would.
See what I'm saying? But
yeah,
she could call her girl and say that. And the girl be like, "Ooh, girl, yeah, I know what you're talking about, girl." Laugh it off, and then they be on about their business. But the husband might be like, I can't take it. But ideally, you should be able to hear that information. Like, "Ooh, okay, let's pray right," or talk her down or whatever, and then your relationship should be okay because she didn't take the dude off to the hotel nowhere and didn't do nothing. She called you and said, "This is bothering me, so I'm letting you know." Do we want that kind of relationship with our spouses, or do we want her to call or him to call his friend and talk about that kind of stuff? That's what I'm talking about. That's the best friend can take that information and the feelings don't get involved.
Yeah, feelings don't get involved.
But he split his wife up into those personalities. Can any man do that with any wife or any spouse or relationship or whatever? That depends on that person. She matured to that point to be able to do that. All right, I'm gonna give you spiritual counselor right now, but when we get home, you're gonna get wife.
Right. And he might need wife. He might need wife. But check this out though. We'll talk about serious stuff. Come on, equipment. Don't start doing that. So affairs in marriage happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
People get divorced over affairs every day. Do you think that it would be better for a spouse to call their spouse and say, "I'm having trouble," and they talk it out and argue it out, whatever the case might be? Or do you think it'd be better for the person to have the affair and call their best, or things leading up to it, they call their best friend and talk it out?
So,
and
they walk into the hotel about to put the card up against the swipe pad, and they call their spouse in and say, "Hey, I'm walking in this room."
Even before that.
Down.
Oh no!
I'm saying,
that's way too late.
I'm saying now, best friends should be able to handle that information, talk you out of it, whatever the case might be. But if I'm not picking on you, Jake, but if Tanya was to call you and say, to do that work, he and I had lunch 4 times in the last 2 weeks, and I'm really feeling them. You ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Cool.
As a husband, as a husband, your feelings are going to get involved. It's going to be hard to separate what she's telling you for you to be able to process it and say, "Okay, I got it. We can work through this. Let's go to the Lord in prayer." And your feelings don't get involved. You see what I'm saying? And so, but they're likely to call a friend and say, "Ooh, I'm just do that work when I 4 times in the last 2 weeks. I'm starting to feel them." They'll tell their friend that.
Yeah.
Will they tell their spouse that? You see what I'm saying? But ideally, we should be emotionally stable enough to hear that information. It might gut punches or we catch a slug in the chest, like Ray said. And then if we're walking in true love and maturity, spiritual and emotional maturity, come back around and deal with that so it doesn't go any further. And if it's that's the time for self-reflection and looking at your relationship and finding out what kinks need to be worked out. You want to give your spouse an opportunity to do that. But a lot of times we talk to our friends, never to our spouse, and then the spouse is blindsided by all of a sudden,
Yeah. So there goes the line between best friend and spouse.
Yeah. So I just don't know that this definition I read holds up because it's I don't know.
In that situation.
I don't know.
Well, let me read some of the comments, man. My thing is, I think a person would automatically get into, again, it goes back to the insecurities. What didn't I do? Because in that moment, if you got a call like you just described, Nate, which is, man, that's just funny. It's not funny, but it's like, wow. Ideally, what that person does not need is a lecture, which was what they'll probably get in that moment of the phone call of saying, this didn't just happen. This, we need to talk about, you should have called me when it was leading up to all of this. And that's not a good time to start lecturing, but that probably would be the reaction that is given because
Right.
of the insecurities,
Mhm.
the shock moment. Um, yeah, because I mean, here's my thing: if you got anybody that's worth being with, somebody's gonna always see the value in that person.
Exactly.
So that being the case, we have to always try to do our part with showing trying to actually secure the love.
Yeah.
And even though we try to secure the love language with the notes and the cards and the compliments, to spending
Mhm.
time together, that still presents a problem where you have a person that's always trying to go old
Mhm.
school, a fox trying to get into the hen house. Somebody's
Mhm.
always trying to show where you might
Yeah.
be slipping and
Oh
where
yeah.
they can step in and always be better.
Mhm.
So it's just that what it boils down to is just using your scenario, Nate, of a situation like that, of affairs that you're talking about. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I don't care how much love language you show, a person is going to do what they want to do.
That's true.
Mhm.
And I don't care how Trump type the friendship is. And yeah, I want to pull up, because I did pull up some articles that I read, and that's kind of something what a psychologist said.
Okay.
He said, I'm just gonna read it briefly.
Mhm.
But do y'all get what I'm saying? I lost it.
You
Yeah.
lost it.
He said absolutely not, didn't he?
Well, that was one of them, but this other guy was just saying something to the fact of how we think that, I'm going off of paraphrasing now, as I can't find the article on my phone that I had
Okay.
saved. He said we would like to think that being best friends in a marriage is going to make that marriage stronger,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but that's not the case. You're going
Okay.
to have whatever the marriage evolves into.
Mm.
Has nothing to
Okay.
do with you trying to secure this best friend thing. And I was able to read that enough. And I want to find it,
So
man. So I can put that
basically,
link
he's
up there.
saying don't have that expectation.
Yeah, that's why he said that's why a lot of people feel like they have to have or
Mhm.
dub their spouse as their best friend, because it makes a happier marriage. And he was just saying pretty
Mhm.
much you setting yourself up for failure if that's your reason for
Yeah.
saying my spouse has to be my best friend to
Right.
secure us having this this perfect relationship. Because again,
Right.
a lot of factors go into, a person just got to be solid in themselves in a lot of areas.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say
uh,
that speaks of insecurity. If you just got to be my best friend because we're married, rather
yeah,
than evolved into best friends and we love each other that much, and or we're two peas in a pies, and
Right.
that kind of thing,
I
rather
think it's
than
an evolution too, Jake. It's an evolution.
yeah, yeah. You don't force that.
Mhm. I mean,
yeah.
there's those individuals that are best friends before they get married, and it just happens
Yeah,
from the jump. But a lot
yeah.
of us, we learn to be that person and evolve
Mhm.
into that person over time.
Right, right.
Okay.
Because after, like, the speaker you were talking about, after all those years, who else would be your best friend?
Oh, it's tight.
Wow. Miss Bell said friends do hold a different role.
Okay.
Ms. Carter Lane said, I think spouses should be secure enough in their relationship to allow their spouse the freedom to have a best friend. Um, give each other space.
Hmm. Well, she just said a mouthful.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn, okay,
Okay.
as a married person over the course of time, that space is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially you give each other spaces to enjoy whatever outlets you enjoy. The freedom to do things that you might like that he or she might not like.
Yeah.
The freedom to have friends that are not just mutual friends or your friend and her
Mm-hmm.
friend, the
Mm-hmm.
best friends. You got to give people have the space to be individuals and not be afraid that it's going to negatively impact the union.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times if we're better individuals, then it helps the overall relationship, marital relationship. it's okay to have an identity outside of just your
Each
spouse,
other.
because
Yeah.
there are things that Michelle likes to do and that might not be my cup of tea. I
Mhm.
don't want to dictate, well, you can't do that because I don't like to do that, and we're supposed to be one. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If you want to go out to take ballet or whatever the case might be, have fun, do that. If you want to go out with the
Mhm.
girls and go to get Cheesecake Factory, have lunch and all that stuff, I don't have to be there. I don't have to go do that too.
Mhm.
You have to allow some space, in not the kind of space that leads to crazy stuff, but the kind of space just to be an individual.
Yeah.
And like I think every household ideally should have a space, especially for a woman. She should have her
Mhm.
own space in the house, someplace that's hers, where
Yeah.
she can just enjoy her solitude and her space and her thoughts and her projects and all that kind of stuff without
Yeah.
interference from the husband.
I
So
know
I think
most old people would say, Nate, well, why get married then? If you get that space. I'm just saying.
no,
That's-
You're
I'm,
right
I'm,
though.
I'm
That's
putting I'm putting my head down because that's such archaic thinking.
that is an old school ideology.
That is an old school saying. So I had to go there. I had to stir it
Yeah,
up.
We don't.
because
I know
every
we
man
get
men want our man cave now too. So
yeah, like men like to have their space. They like you said. I used to enjoy having my man cave.
yeah,
I go down there and play my video games or watch my Lord of the Rings as long as many times as I want to, but I couldn't live there.
right. You got
You
to
see what I'm saying?
come
I had
out
to come back.
sometime.
I had to come out my man cave and enjoy my family. But
Yeah.
sometimes going to that man cave, I could release some stressors and I could think about things and work on some personal self development. So when I went
Right.
out of my cave, I was a better man for everybody
Right.
involved. And I think that's what happens when we let each other have some space
Yeah.
to be our best selves. It doesn't threaten the relationship
Right.
to allow that to happen. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Okay. All right. This is pretty good. We are up against the hour.
Man,
Yeah. This was pretty good.
Oh,
share some of
let's
these comments that's coming.
let's
There's a whole
go
bunch
back
of coming.
a little bit. You guys don't know the whole thing with the gray sweatpants?
Oh my God.
Let's keep it. We got a family show here, Jake.
It
Man,
is.
these are all grown folk, so ain't no kids on this show.
Yes, it is. I just sent my
YouTube-
great nephew the link tonight. So hey,
Hey, let me tell YouTube that our show is for everyone.
No, I think women are wrong for that, but they do. They do, like as you said, Nate, they love the gray sweatpants. But there's a reason.
You have to talk to the ladies about that.
okay.
Look at Ray.
I got so
I
much
lost-
that I'm trying to get to before we run out of time, from the article to.
Oh man, we got a few minutes. We got a whole bunch of comments over here. I can't read them good, so maybe we could talk to some of these
Just a comment.
commenters.
Okay. So I just start right here. So some of them, they were sent while we were talking. So I'm just gonna shoot through them. Last one I read was Carter Lanes. So then she goes on to say, I'm not gonna read that. Trying to see where a comment, because people don't hold conversations to communicate, only to answer. Okay, I think that probably was when I made a statement that people respond with from their insecurity of saying, what didn't I do that caused this? Ms. Bell said foolishness can create division in your relationship. I would love to know a little bit more. What do you mean by foolishness can create division in your relationship? Do people stop being attracted to people just because they're married? Marriage is not a fairy tale. I don't have a response for that. Maybe one of you guys do.
Stop being attracted. No, they probably, people get used to each other and take each other for granted when you get married, if you don't keep it spiced up and hot and all that. So, yeah.
Spouses need to know the other's love language and express love the way it will be received. Understanding and respecting the other's love language will prevent a lot of big problems. Real talk. Discern before you share. Okay, so I guess going back to the hotel or affair example that you used, Nate, maybe that's what that foolish conversation was about right there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, to the statement you said about attraction. Attraction is normal. People will find other folks attractive as long as it doesn't lead to the foolishness that the other commenter was talking about. If it leads to foolishness, then the attraction is a problem.
Right.
You should be able to be attracted to somebody without it leading to anything that that damages your relationship or impacts your marriage.
Right. It doesn't have to progress to lust.
Exactly. If you start letting your attractions occupy spaces that only your spouse should have, then it's a problem.
I'm sorry, I was reading. I missed that. That sounded like it was good what you guys just had right there. I'm sorry. I usually can do two things at once, but I missed it.
You're getting old, bro.
I do. I know. I gotta get back on the court. Lace it up one more time. It's my remedy. It's gonna always be my remedy.
Always.
Lace it up
one more time.
The court brings you back every time.
Brings it back every time. Yeah. Life is about balance. My husband happens to be my bestie. Shouldn't we expect our spouse to be the vault keeper? Confidant, supporter.
Oh, wow.
We should. But in everything,
so. Like I said, ideally.
Yeah, ideally.
you should be able to tell your spouse some stuff that needs to be kept in the vault. Nobody else ever hears from it again. But you know what? That puts a lot of responsibility, and I think it's responsibility that's deserved on the other spouse to be able to take information and process it without letting insecurities or emotions, damage. Because then once you do that, and this turned to a marriage talk, but once you do that, once I give you information that I think I want to give you, that's vital, and I'm being very transparent, and I think only you should know this information. I want you to hold it, and if you take that information and either throw it back in my face or go left with that information because your insecurities and emotions get involved, and I'm less likely to put myself in that situation again.
So you said deserved, but you could even say earned.
I say I think it's a deserved responsibility because the person who's receiving, critical information like that, I think the first level of response should be, why is this person telling me this? And what am I to do with this information that can be beneficial for the both of us?
Right.
Not hear the information and then take it left with feelings and insecurities, like you keep saying, Jake. And then you risk that person not ever wanting to tell you anything else again because of the bad experience you had the first time I told you something.
Oh man,
I told you something, and next thing I know, I'm at the hotel for the 3 nights because you don't want me in the house. I had to leave because I told you something that I really felt you should know.
Good.
But so the next time something happens, I'm less likely to share that information with you because now I have a trust issue going, or insecurity in myself that your response is going to be negative. So I think that ideally we should be vault keepers. We should be in a relationship that's safe enough to share anything with each other, and I could take it to my grave, you could take it to your grave, and
that why was really good right there.
I'm an idealist.
Okay, I'm gonna read this last one, and then we're gonna close it out with the wisdom nugget. I got one tonight.
Oh, good,
you guys.
I just shared a lot of them tonight. We just didn't call it.
I think people with spouses who fit those roles are blessed. Those with narcissistic or abusive spouses need a best friend outside the marriage to stay sane and feel supported.
Read that again, please.
I think people with spouses who fit those roles are blessed.
Okay.
Those with narcissistic or abusive spouses need a best friend outside the marriage to stay sane and feel supported.
Wow.
That's
That's saying a
good.
lot.
Yeah.
That's saying a lot there.
That's saying a lot.
Wow.
Because yes, I guess there is no right or wrong answer to what it should be as we come to a conclusion with this. I
Mhm.
know last week, there was the biblical angle that was put out there, and
Mhm.
again, if it everybody's spouse does not fit into that role, because you do have some spouses that are abusive, they have wrong intentions. They
Yeah.
don't want to see you improve in any kind of way. So it's kind of hard
Right.
to allow them to be the vault. Now, ideally, if they were doing their role properly, the
Mhm.
two becoming one,
Yeah.
and loving the way God always designed marriage to be, then
Yeah.
that would be a
Oh.
safe place to rest your burdens and to rest your
Mhm.
to rest your successes and your lows.
Right.
But everybody, for whatever reason, it doesn't. That's not the case. So I think in that case, then you have to be that person to have that outside, that outside community
Mhm.
Mhm.
to help you through those moments, because it's all about safety.
Yeah.
It's all about safety. Yeah.
Let me just say this before you go, because I think I had a insightful a moment of epiphany
Okay.
about two becoming one. The Bible says the two shall become one. There should be no more twain.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of us who are married,
Mhm.
or a lot of married people who are still in the two stage
Yes.
and have not yet arrived at the oneness.
Yeah.
And so I think that is where a lot of our issues stem from.
So
And
good.
we need to understand also that one stage is a process. It takes some
Mhm.
time to get there. It doesn't happen immediately just because you say I do. Two minds, two spirits, two hearts, two ways of thinking don't meld into one until after a process of growth and change, and sometimes
Right.
trials and tribulation, heat from
Effort.
the fire. You know, if you're trying to in chemistry meld two chemicals together, two
Mhm.
substances that are hard to meld together, sometimes you have to introduce a lot of heat,
Yeah.
a lot of pressure, or some other forms of binders that bring those two things together. It doesn't happen just because you put them together, they start to become a new substance. You have to apply some other type of, usually damaging external force before those two things start to come together. Point being, sometimes it takes some trials and tribulations and some growth and change before you can become one. It doesn't happen just because you say I do.
Okay. My wisdom nugget is right there. You were all up my in my
I'm
notes.
prophetic. I'm prophetic.
And it just hit me while we were sitting here talking. And my wisdom nugget would be: growth can only happen when we are willing to be challenged. That's it. Growth can only happen when we're willing to be challenged. A lot of people don't like to be challenged in different areas of our lives. And
that's good.
And if that's the case, we can only remain the same.
That's good stuff, bro. That's good stuff.
Yep. So, all right, as we close up out of here, next week, let's jump on single parent households. Let's attack that. I'm putting it out there. Let's talk about it.
Men and women, or just
men?
Jake couldn't take it. He had to leave. He's like,
Jake's like, I'm out of here.
Get that.
I'm gone.
We lost Jake due to technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties. So yeah, that's what we're gonna hit next week. Because I'm just hearing a lot of things where women are raising the children, men not being there, and you got to still raise the child. You can't help if the man's not there, but why is the man not there? Let's just have that whole gumbo conversation because I really have a lot to chime in about that because I work with young people on a regular, and I'm really seeing a difference with these kids right now versus 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's different. It's different
Man,
generation.
it's a difference.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good conversation. We could talk about that because
Yeah.
I have a little bit of experience myself because I was raised by a single mom for a number of years.
Yeah.
So,
And I would love to share the person, the Mississippi situation. I'm sorry, the Memphis situation that occurred.
oh yeah,
I
young
heard a
Tyree.
lady. Yep, I heard a lady giving. She has a very popular podcast. She gave a spin on that there
Mhm.
that would kind of parlay into us talking next week about the single parent household.
Okay.
That I just didn't see her coming with that angle, and it floored me, and it opened up my thoughts like to wow,
Wow.
wow,
Okay.
that's a very unpopular point that she just made in this tragic situation. But so yeah, next week let's jump on that. So
All right.
until next week,
Till next week.
thanks for hanging out with us, people. We appreciate all the great comments that kept.
Thank you
created the show.
everybody who commented and who took part in the conversation. We appreciate it. Like I said earlier, if you want to continue the conversation afterwards, go ahead and keep on talking in the comments. And if you come on by the show later, make sure you let us know that you were here. Thank you.
Yep. All right, bro. See you
All
next
right.
Sunday.
All right. On
Talk to
behalf
you
of
soon.
Jake, you guys have a great week.
All right.